Hi team. Uh, let's come to the main concept of the configuration, which is the user interface customization. So by now you're familiar with entities, type lists, and also the forms configuration, activities, note, and also familiar with the enhancements. So now today let's learn about the PCF files. So for customizing any kind of user interface available on the Policy Center or any other application as well, either it could be Claim Center or Billing Center, the concept is same, but the screens might be different. For Policy Center, you need the account summary screen, but for Billing Center, they need the billing summary screen. For Claim Center, they need the claims page. So end of the day, the technical concept is same for all the core applications like Contact Manager also. But the screens are different, but technically developing the screens are the concept is same. So for configuring your user interface, we have something called PCF files. All right. So one second. So PCF files are nothing but page configuration files. So in your application, you'll have many files with extension called PCF. Okay. By making use of these PCF files, we are going to customize the user interface. Okay. So over on this screen, what you're seeing, it is not a single PCF file that has been customized. There are multiple PCF files involved on the single screen. Okay, you have your info bar. This is your info bar actually. This is your toolbar. This is your actions menu. Likewise, this is your detail view. There are multiple parameters which combine to build a user interface. But none of the two, I mean, any user interface change doesn't require any kind of programming. It is just a drag and drops, and you have to configure some properties to it so that all these graphs, values, drop down, everything would be customized via making use of the PCF files. Okay, now how do we know? Now let's come back to the concept. Like, so these PCF files are XML files actually, but like, while we are discussing, when you have seen an entity, let's open an account entity, account.ati. Okay, even these entities are XML files, but are we working with actual XML data? No. As and when you click on the buttons, the XML file would be generated automatically in the text mode. We are in the entity mode. This is a entity editor. Likewise, when you are creating the PCF files, so these PCF files are also, one second, let me open a PCF file. I'm opening some random PCF file, account file summary.pcf. Okay, this is your PCF file. This is how it looks. So this is your PCF editor from the entire, the middle screen represents your PCF editor. You see the account, policy, contact, all these details you are able to see it on the user interface as well. Desktop, account, policy, contact, search, and everything. So likewise, you'll have over here as well. Okay. And if you need the buttons, all those things will be present on your toolbox. You'll have multiple buttons over here to customize your user interface. All you need to do is you need to understand in which scenario which button you have to make use of it. There are certain categories in which scenario you have to use. I mean, based on the user interface customization, we have to make use of these toolbox to add the properties into this. Okay, so that is what we are going to learn about the PCF hierarchy, how the hierarchy of the PCF has been built in the I mean, any of the applications in the Guidewire tool. Okay, any PCF file will have the extensions .pcf. Okay, PCF is nothing but page configuration file. Likewise, you have for entities, you have the entity editor and text, and you also have for PCF files also you have page configuration editor and also the text. If you see even here also it is a completely an XML file. So your data model and also PCFs are XML files where you have the editors to edit them. For customization of user interface, you're not going to write any of the programming language like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, nothing. Your entire guide where you need to understand only the Java OOPS concepts. Other than that, you don't have to learn any other technology or the like learning like programming language or anything. You don't have to learn anything. Okay. Now let's see the hierarchy of the uh, this one PCF file structure, how it has been defined. Let me come back to the hierarchy. So it defines that user interface are built on using the page configuration format framework. So it's a framework and it is an XSD validated XML file. These are XML files actually. Okay. So the PCF element defines the structure, layout, and also the behavior. As and when you click on a specific drop down, another field would be visible. So those kind of behavior, right? And also the layout, how the structure has to be defined and what is the structure. So all these things are defined as part of your PCF file. So let's see the hierarchy of the PCF file. So in your PCF file, there is something called widget, there is something called location. Okay. So widgets are those which can be visible on the user interface. Usually those are displayable elements on the user interface rendered as a HTML pages, and converting it into a HTML page. All these things are done by the application. It's a applications framework. You just need to drag and drop. That's all. But internally, it renders into a HTML page and it displays on the user interface, right? So widgets are those which are visible on the user interface, and locations are those which are not visible on the user interface, but these allow the user to navigate from one screen to the other screen. This is the difference between your widgets and locations. Your PCF hierarchy is uh, divided into two major categories. One is widget and one is locations. Now let me show you the difference between on a real time what is a location and what is a widget. Now we are able to navigate from summary screen to policy transaction screen, right? So you're navigating it. You're coming from this screen to this screen. So the navigation flow, it is not able to visible, right? It is just that we configured and you're able to navigate. So this is the location, okay? But you're able to see a specific field on the user interface. That is an widget, okay? When we move forward, when we learn about the multiple PCF file formats, then you'll understand the major difference between a widget and a location. Now let me get inside a uh, training account or the specific transaction summary screen. Now we are able to see a hyperlink over here. Now when you click on this, it is navigating you to some other screen to show you all the details of the primary named insured. So we have navigated from that screen to this screen. So how are we able to navigate? By making use of the locations. Okay, but you're able to see the field on the user interface. Those are known as widgets. Okay. So under widgets, you have two types of widgets. One is atomic widget and one is the container widget. Under atomic widgets, you have only three types. One is the input, cell, and button. Now let's see what is the input, what is the cell, and what is the button. So buttons are those clickable on the user interface. So let's say this is an edit button, and also you have what are the other things like input and cell as well, right? So cells are those configured. Okay, let's come to the input. It is already available. The fields that you are seeing over here, these are input. Okay, cells can be configured inside this specific table bar. I mean, inside the table. Okay, just remember the names of it. But when you're creating it, we are not going to make use of it. Just for the naming convention, they have made use of the cells and these things. If you want to practically see that, you can just go for here and then search for cell. You see the cell layout. All these are cell iterator, row iterator. All these things are cells. Okay, you also have buttons which are clickable on the user interface. Iterative button, edit button. This is the one that I've shown you on the user interface. Edit button, and also this button, submission button. All these things are buttons, and also input. You see, uh, input divider, inputs. All these details are the details. But usually inputs are those text inputs where the user can provide the certain data from the user interface. Okay. So coming back to your concept. So atomic widget contains of three things. One is input, cell, and button. Button is a clickable one. Cells are those which can be appended into a table format, and inputs are those user can provide a input data from the user interface. Okay. Now let's come back to the container widget, which is the crucial one. Container widgets and locations are the crucial ones. So let's come one by one on a high level. We'll see on a very high level. Later point, we are going to uh, discuss each and every one. So as part of introduction of the PCF file, I'm going to provide a high level understanding. Later, we can go in detail of each and everything. Okay. So let us discuss only few of them. So these are the types of container widgets that we have. So usually screen is the whole one that you are watching here, right from this tip, the white color screen over here to edge of this. So this is a screen. Okay, this is one type of a container widget. This entire part is known as a screen. And after screen, on the chart, you have something called list detailed view. So before understanding list detail view, we have to understand the detailed view and list view. When we understand about this one, we can call it as list detailed panel or list detailed view also. So before we understand this, we have to understand these two. So let's understand the list view. So whenever you are watching as a tabular format on the user interface, let's come to the account screen. You're able to see the activities as a table format. All the tabular format on the user interface can be configured via the list view. So you have a list of details, like you have a list of activities, which should be displayed as a tabular format on the user interface. During that cases, we make use of the list view. And we also have detailed view where the above screen, which is, since the name is details, we are not calling it as a detail view, but since the detail view will contain an input column where you can segregate the screen. So your detail view can capture the values where according to the functionality, you can segregate and display it on the user interface. Okay. And if you want to divide these two into two parts, you make use of the input column. So this is one column and this is one column. Okay. So detail view will segregate multiple input to be displayed on the user interface based on the functionality. But list view will display the details on the user interface in terms of a tabular format. Okay, even this is also a list view. This is also a list view. This also a list view, right? But this is a detailed view because you have the details, but you are not adding multiple values. If you have multiple activities, you will see three entries here. But detail view will capture the details in a specific format on the user interface by making use of the input columns. Okay. Now we understood about the list view and detail view. When it comes to the list detailed view, let's come to the list detailed view. Go to a policy, go to the driver screen. You have a list view on the user on the top. This is a tabular format, right? If I need, I can add multiple this one as well. I can add multiple details like 1 second, guys. I'm just getting a call. Okay. So on the top, you have a list view. On the bottom, you have a detailed view. So from the person, address, license state, or the details which are present in this format, where you have a detailed view, you are adding multiple values in a specific format. So this is called as a detailed view. So when you select a specific driver, that specific driver details are visible. If you have three drivers, when you select that second driver, only that second driver details will be displayed on the bottom screen. This format is known as list detailed view. So you have a list view. When the user selects that driver, that details will be visible. When the user selects the second driver, only the second driver details will be visible on the bottom screen. So in these cases, we make use of the list detailed view. All right. Now we have seen about the screen, list detail view, and also the detailed view and list view. And there is the third one called card card view. Okay. So card view is usually used to have multiple tabs on the same screen. So you have contact detail, you have roles, you have address, you have motor vehicle record. So how did we configure multiple tabs here? It is via the card view. This entire is known as a card view. And inside a card view, you have multiple cards, contact details card, roles card, address card, and motor vehicle card. Inside the card, they've added a detailed view. So a single PCF will have multiple uh, PCF attached to it. Not PCF, but multiple uh, container widgets. Okay. So the top one is a list view. Bottom, you have a overall, we call it as a list detailed view. On the top, you have a list view. On the bottom, you have a card view. Inside the card view, you have a detailed view. Inside the detail view, you have a input column. Okay, so if you want a different column on the right hand side again, you have to add one more input column to the detail view that we have here. Now let's get back into the application and see how it has been configured. So the shortcut that we have to make use of to come back into the application. Now, how do we understand what is the name of the PCF file that has been inside the application? So remember, expand project structure and then expand configuration folder. And then when you expand config folder, there is a specific folder for page configuration. Only in this file, you will be able to add new page configuration. So inside the PCF page configuration, you have a specific folder called page configuration. If you right click here, you'll be having an option to create a page configuration file. Okay. Likewise, you have under extension, you have entity tab. Only here you'll be able to create new entity. But in any of the other folders, if you try to click on right click new, you'll have to have an option to create the entity itself or the page configuration. So page configuration file has to be created under the page configuration PCF file, where you can create multiple folders depending like how you create the folders for any of the Gosu classes, right? You can create multiple folders as well. So to create a new folder, we can just inside PCF, click on new PCF folder. Or if you want to create a PCF file, you're going to make use of this PCF file. All right. Now let's see the structure, the one that we have just discussed, how the detail view card view is being configured. So to understand what is the file name of the PCF that has been configured over here, to open it in the backend application, the shortcut is Alt Shift E. So when you click on Alt Shift E, automatically the application will redirect you from the user interface to the backend application. So we are in this driver details screen. So automatically it just opened. We don't have to search which is the file name. We don't have to worry about it. So this is one way. The other way is Alt Shift I, which will give you the entire information of all the PCF files that are been present in this specific screen. In this screen, the driver detail screen, we have these many PCF files configured. But the first file is policy file personal auto driver.pcf. This is the file that was opened when you click on Alt Shift E, E for eating. When you click on Alt Shift T, automatically the application will take you from the front application to the backend application. And this is only for your local host application, which is your local policy center. When you're working with production application or when you're working with any test environments or UAT environments or SIT environments, over there, when even they make use of the Alt Shift E, it will not work. You have to make use of the Alt Shift I, which is information of the PCF. Like remember in that way so that you can configure. So let me make a note of it on the running note. So the new shortcut that we have learned today is to open PCF file in local. We are going to make use of Alt Shift plus I. Okay. Now, if you want to open or not in the local file, you want to press Alt Shift E and to open PCF file on the user interface browser, we make use of Alt Shift plus I. Okay. So these are the two shortcuts. There is a third shortcut also, which we usually don't use, Alt Shift W, which will open the widget mode. So the details that are captured over here also will be visible. This one. Okay. What is the date of as of date policy period? All these other details. All right. So now let's come back to the backend application. So like I was discussing, the whole screen that you see from the user interface from the white screen is known as a screen. From this screen to the end of this. So remember there is a policy file and all these details. So let's come from, it should start from drivers. So it has started from here, screen. You have this desktop info bar. I've told you there is an info bar. There is an action menu and policy info, locations, vehicles, driver screen and all these things. This is the screen. And when you click on drivers details, so if you see there is a list view inside. There is also a card panel, which is a card view, and each one is known as a card. Inside card, you have a detailed view. Inside a detailed view, you have an input column. This we are going to do in a hands-on exercise by creating a new screen. For now, I'm just showing you how we have to navigate from the user interface to backend application. All right, let's come back to the concept again. So these are your container widgets that we have to configure the user interface. We also have location. So let's come to the next. So usually, okay, before we go to locations, we'll stay on the widgets itself. So widgets are segregated into three levels of containers: top level container, second level container, and primary container. Always remember, uh, this primary container can be embedded into secondary container. Secondary containers can be embedded into top level container. Okay, let's understand this. So the screen is the top level container. So inside the screen, we can add the card view. Let's come to the screen. So inside the screen, you have a card view. So come bottom. This is the entire screen, the blue color highlighted one, the dark blue color highlighted one. Inside this, you have a card panel, right? Inside the card panel, you have a detail view, which is the primary container widget. So this is the primary container widget where we can append it into the secondary container widget, where the secondary container widget can be appended into the top level container widget, which is a screen. So that is the reason we have a hierarchy specific for container widgets. Primary container is a reusable view that organizes atomic widgets. It's like secondary container organizes primary containers, all these things. Okay. And coming to the atomic widgets, right? Like we have atomic widgets and container widgets. Atomic widgets are the tiniest part of your PCF elements, which is used to build your PCF file. Okay. So let's come to the next. You have location. So in these locations, we are going to work only few of them in a real-time experience. So let's see one by one. You have location, group, page, wizard, pop-up, worksheet, forward, and exit point. So on a high level, let's see in a speed mode. Later, we are going to discuss each and everything again. You have a driver screen. No, you have an account summary screen where if you keep clicking on all the screens on the left-hand side, you're able to see the contacts related to that specific account, and you're able to see the policy transaction of that specific account and the specific account submission manager and everything. So the reason behind, so these can be configured via the location group. So a location group can contain multiple locations where all the location group should contain a primary root entity. In here, the primary root entity is an account entity. So for that specific account, all the screens are available. So who are the participants available on that specific account and what are the contacts available on that specific account. So the location group can contain multiple locations where all the locations can capture the details of a singular entity instance, which is a account instance in this case, right? And also you'll not have back and next steps available. Okay, but when you come to the wizard, there is a second concept called wizard. Inside the wizard, you'll have multiple back and next steps. When you start creating a new policy, right, you'll have an option to have the back and next steps, usually on the policy transaction. When you're creating a submission transaction, you have the back and next step during the policy transaction to keep growing, to keep moving to the next step. So for the wizards, we'll have the next step. So wizards will take you the user in a specific organized step. Okay, and coming back to the pop-up, you have the when you click on the specific let me go to submission policy info screen. So you are able to click this hyperlink, it is able to take you to a different screen, right? And when you click on return on this screen, it is returning you back to the same screen where you have entered. So those are known as pop-ups. Pop-ups will allow you to be on the same screen, but to navigate to a different screen. But when you want a return option, you will still have the option to return to the main screen. So that is known as a pop-up. Okay. Other than this, when you want to create a new activity, okay, you're able to see the bottom screen. So worksheet, this is known as a worksheet. So worksheet is also part of your locations. Now we have discussed about the pop-up. We are discussing about the worksheet. We have discussed about the wizard, and we also discussed about the location group. Okay, now let's come back to the worksheet. So worksheet will open, making you to be available on the same screen, which means on the same page, and it will occupy some screen of the bottom screen where you can create a new activity. So this is the activity worksheet, but pop-up will take you to a different screen, making you to be available on the same screen, and it will have an option to come back to the main screen. But worksheets are not like that. Worksheets will have the bottom screen open, being on the same screen. Okay, just create the account activity and then click on OK, and the worksheet will get closed. That is known as a worksheet. And coming to the forwards and exit point. So forwards are nothing but based on the condition, it is going to navigate you to a specific screen. Now let's say when I click on policy button over here, it is able to navigate to only a specific transaction or a submission. How is it able to navigate to a specific policy or a submission? What if I don't have any policies in my policy center? If I click on the policy tab, where will it will go? Like in which screen it will redirect you to get onto that screen. So since you have a policy, it is navigating you to a specific policy. But what if you don't have a policy? Your application is empty. So which screen it will take you? So depending upon the forward only, it will going to navigate to a specific screen. So forward will allow you based on the conditions. It is going to here when you click on this button, right, policy button, in the backend application there is a forward PCF. In the forward PCF, you'll have the conditions. So if there is a recently selected policy, then it will open the recently selected policy. If there is no recently created policy, then it is going to navigate you to new policy creation screen. Okay, so that is known as forward. Forward will have conditions. Based on the condition, it will redirect you to a different screen. And the last option is exit points. So Alt Shift T and then come to the log. Now come to the logs and then capture any of the logs. You have something called full stream in login pop-up. Click on this. It will redirect you to the different web page. So how is it able to redirect you to the different web page? It is based on the exit point location. Okay. So this is what they're able to explain. A PCF element that user can navigate to does not define any visual isn't user interface content, can use the permissions to control like which user should access this, which screens and all these things. Okay, this is on a high level about your PCF, but in detail we are going to learn each and everything. This is the architectural view of the PCF. By making use of these PCF elements or the locations on the widget, we can configure the PCF user interface. All right. In the next class, we are going to learn each and everything. Okay. We'll navigate from the user interface. First, will it edit the first will come from the atomic widgets and we will navigate to the container widget. And then we'll learn about few of the concepts of the locations where we are going to configure it in a real time. Okay. Okay, guys. In the next class, we'll start with atomic widgets and start making the editing the changes. Thank you.